Welcome to Stories from the Center of the Universe, the podcast about the human experience.
Colonel Winton Spiller, welcome to the Center of the Universe.
I'm happy to be here.
I think you and I tried to connect, 3, 4, 5 years ago, and it just didn't work out for whatever reason. But here we are. You drove from Powhatan today to be here in Ashland. Technically, I have an Ashland address here, even though I'm outside of town. And you and I know a lot of the same people.
Right. That's. I used to, when I was a kid, I came here. My parents' Dr. Vaughn was here, and I came here all the time to. I remember we had to come back and get the flu shot every year. The flu shot. Yeah.
Well, where you grew up, there weren't doctors closer to you?
I don't know. I was born in Hanover County.
Oh, okay.
At Cabin Hill Farm, up by the courthouse.
Yep.
And there they went to Doctor. They went to Dr. Vaughn and just continued.
That makes a lot of sense. We're not far from Cabin Hill Farm now, if it's near the courthouse, because the courthouse
it's just right over here.
Yeah, it's 3 miles away.
See, I guess it's what direction is that? West?
You'd be going from here,
from Richmond going out 301. I guess that's.
If you took 301 from Richmond, you're kind of traveling almost north and a little east.
North and east. Oh, okay. I really turned around.
I'm turning around being in this neighborhood.
Yeah. Anyway, we go out there and then you turn right, and the farm is down on the left hand side, just before you cross the road.
Okay. Oh, right before. That's a big farm back in there, isn't it?
It's several farms, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay.
But the one that we were on was probably the first farm you come to on the left there.
It makes you realize how big Hanover County is when you see some of that farmland, because it just keeps on going and going.
Exactly, yeah.
And it's still part of Hanover County. I think I timed it once. It takes about 50, maybe 55 minutes to drive from one side of Hanover County to the other if you're going west to east or east to west. I mean, it's a really big county. All right, so you grew up in the Richmond metro area, but you and I
was born in Hanover, and my dad worked for John L. Ratcliffe as a florist. But at that time, he was farming for Mr. Ratcliffe. And then we moved to Highland Park, where he had a greenhouse.
Okay.
And then moved back to Hanover, where he had the farm, and stayed there a couple, 3 years. And then he moved to Greendale, where I grew up.
Okay.
Greendale, at the intersection of Staples Mill and Hilliard Road.
Yep. Okay. So right there in Henrico, not in the city necessarily.
In Henrico.
Okay. Now, Highland Park was the city, wasn't it? Was that
Highland Park? I think is that's north. That's North Richmond, I think.
Yeah, north
Richmond.
Northern part of the city. Yeah.
And anyway, then he moved to Greendale, and that's where I grew up there.
And so, would you consider that kind of home because that's where you spent your?
Yeah, I lived there we moved there when I was about 4 or 5 years old.
Oh, okay. So it definitely was home.
Yeah, and then when I turned 6. We moved into the big house and lived there until I got married. And went in the Army. Yeah.
So you were in a smaller house and ended up going to a bigger house. Was it just y'all that called it the big house, or were the people in the neighborhood?
Anyway, no. When my dad went there, there was another guy that was running it.
Okay.
And he soon left. And my dad, he ran the greenhouse for several years.
So whoever ran the greenhouse got the big house.
Got the big house.
All right, nice.
Big house no longer exists, though.
Really?
Yeah, it's gone.
Just people didn't take care of it over time, kind of thing?
Well, there is all industrial now. It's all built up. And,
yeah.
They tore it down.
Yeah, I was talking to a guy who's probably 83, 84 now, grew up, that the exit you took to get here, if you took the next exit to go back into town, he lived in a house right there. So, yeah, it's wild what happens over decades, especially. All right, so when you were a kid, how did you spend your time when you weren't in school and you weren't doing what your parents told you to do? What did you do for fun?
I was worked with my dad in the greenhouse. My dad started me working in the greenhouse when I was 13 years old.
So you didn't have a whole lot of free time.
I didn't have a lot of free time. But anyway, I remember every morning he'd wake us up about 6 o'clock. My brother was a couple of years younger than I was. And we would go to work and work about an hour and a half maybe before school. Go to school, come back, and go back in the greenhouse and work
So
from
it's work,
3:30 to 5.
Work, school, work, eat dinner, and then get ready to go to bed and do it all over again?
Finally got a TV, watch TV, and go to bed. Get ready. Well, I guess I did a little homework for school and that kind of thing, yeah.
How old were you when you got a TV?
How old was I?
How old were you when you got a TV?
7, 8 years old.
Okay. Was it color or black and white?
Black and white. Black and white.
How many channels did you have?
As I recall, it was 3.
Okay.
WTVR, I remember WTVR back then.
WTVR was channel
Channel
6 today.
Yeah.
You probably had 8 and 12 back then too, maybe?
Probably.
Yeah.
Probably, yeah.
And then PBS eventually came along with channel 23. Mm-hmm. How did the channels get changed? Because there were no remotes back then.
You would change a dial on it.
I used to joke that I was the remote control in our house growing up.
But I think we finally got a remote control, and that was big time, yeah.
All right, nice. In high school, what did you really gravitate to in school? Were you really into academics? Were you into sports?
Like I said, baseball. See, I played baseball. I was on a baseball team, so I was able not to work doing that, not as much. Still had to work some, but I played baseball on the baseball team.
What position did you play?
Little scrawny guy. Believe it or not, I was catcher.
Really?
Yeah.
It's usually a stockier guy.
I was a scrawny guy, catcher, but I also played some second base.
Okay.
And I remember one time we were getting the third baseman screwed up. He made an error or something, and the coach yelled at me, "Spiller, get your glove and get on third base." I said, "I got a catcher's mitt. I can't do that. Do you want to be on this team?" "Yes, sir." Go on third base.
So you played third base with a catcher's mitt?
Yeah.
That's hard to play third base with a catcher's mitt.
I think maybe I might have borrowed somebody's glove, but anyway.
I think at some point you'd have to, right?
Yeah.
Catching's fun because unless the ball's being hit by the batter, catching's a whole lot of fun because you're getting every pitch coming to you, and I don't know. Did you give signals back in the day when you caught? Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you kind of control the game a little bit too, playing catcher.
Yeah. And I often got criticized for rushing the pitcher. You had the pitcher going too fast.
Yeah, because there's no time limit for the pitcher, and pitchers like to go slow. Most of them. Mm-hmm. Yeah, some of them, I guess, don't. And by the way, if you can hear a dog barking, that's my dog upstairs who is very unruly today. All right, I should get this out of the way because I've wanted to ask this for a while. Where did the nickname Dip come from?
Dip. Okay, Dip came to me when I was small, Hanover. For some reason, I don't know why, but my parents had a black lady that worked for them in the house, a maid.
Right.
Because we didn't have a lot of money. I don't know why, but my mom, as I recall, my mom was she had a lot of trouble with arthritis, and she had surgery early in life, tumor, but anyway, Dip came from that. She used to rock me in her arms, and sing the song Dipsy Doodle to me.
Oh, okay.
And she said, "It's going to be Dip from now on," and it was Dip.
Are you the oldest child?
I was the oldest, yeah.
Okay. How many siblings?
One brother.
Just one brother?
One brother. He passed away in 2004. Yeah.
Sorry to hear that.
Anyway,
so it came from a song, and you were
came from that song. Yeah.
And so mom and dad called you Dip your entire childhood.
Every as I grew up, I kept it, and I went in the Army, and I would change assignments, and everyone I went to, I would tell my wife, Judy at the time, I'm going to get rid of Dip. It's Winton. But it didn't work. She know. It's my first wife. I knew her in high school, and I knew her, and she was actually back then she was 3 years younger than me, and I didn't date her very much in that time because I thought she was a baby. But anyway, I think after my first year at Tech, after my first year at Tech, I came back and started dating her, and the rest is history.
How long did y'all date before you got married?
4 years. We got married right after I graduated.
Okay.
And she went to my first assignment at Fort Bliss, Texas. And she went with me. Yeah. So
you did long distance dating for 3+ years.
Yeah. Well, at Tech, that wasn't that bad. I probably at least my junior and senior year, I was home every weekend. I was in Richmond every weekend.
Because when you were a freshman and sophomore, you were in the Corps all 4 years. Because that's all there was. That's all there was, right? There were no civilian students back then.
There were.
Really?
There were some. Actually, when I graduated, the student body was about 50-50. As I recall, the student body was low, like 6,000, 6,300 maybe.
Okay.
And had about half. I think the Corps was a little larger, but about 50-50.
I was under the impression, and you tell me because you went there, when did the Corps start, or when did the school start allowing civilians to go to school? Because at one point it was just a military school, right?
Yeah.
But I guess that went back to the 40s or 50s.
I don't know when they started. But to be a civilian, first if you had a medical problem, you couldn't be in the Corps. If you're a veteran, you didn't have to be in the Corps. And that was another reason, but I can't recall.
Yeah,
I can't recall what it was.
You told me earlier you graduated in 60. My dad graduated in 67. He said when he was there, everybody was in the Corps, unless you had some sort of exception. Everybody was in the Corps for the first 2 years, and then if you wanted to go the civilian route, you could choose to go the civilian route.
That's exactly
junior.
right. Yeah.
Yeah, but back to you going home, you had more liberties being in the Corps as a junior and a senior, which would afford you to go home, but that's still a long drive.
Well, it's 4 hours, I guess it is. Yeah.
It's every bit of 3.5, if not 4, yeah.
Somewhere around. But back then, there was no interstate then.
Right.
When I was going back and forth to Tech.
So you'd have to take like 460 to 29 or something like that, right?
And let's see, I went 60 to, was it 24 over to, I think 460.
And work your way up that way.
Yeah,
I guess if you went east first and then north, it's different. I've driven it where I've taken, I don't know how I got to 29, but I ended up going to 29, and then you could take 250 into town kind of thing.
And then, of course, I got 81 64.
Yeah, it's a lot of trucks.
64, 81 now, yeah.
A lot of tractor trailers on 64, 81.
81 in particular, especially 81.
It's crazy.
Big time trucks.
It doesn't make any sense to me why there are that many trucks on the road, but there are. And I guess that's where 64 and 81 are the same, and then 64 breaks off to the west and 81 continues south.
Goes to right there, Lexington, I think, is where it breaks off.
I think that's right. Yeah, absolutely. All right, so what was your experience? Well, first of all, why did you go to Virginia Tech? Why did you choose Tech?
Well, I guess because I really, when I was going to high school, I knew very little about colleges and advanced, what to happen after high school. So, I didn't know much about it, the West Point. I didn't know about the Air Force Academy. But anyway, my cousin, Richard Gilman, went to Tech, and I said, okay, I'll try that too. So that's the primary reason. And I applied to two schools, Virginia Tech and University of Richmond. Got accepted at both, and at the end, I chose Tech.
What was it about Tech that made you want to go there?
I knew very little about the Corps. I kind of wanted to go away from home. I guess that was probably the main reason.
Yeah, because the University of Richmond would have been not even a 15-minute drive to where you grew up.
No.
Yeah, but you definitely got away from home. You're still in the state of Virginia, but you're pretty far away.
Yeah.
That's wild. At what point did you realize you were going to have to be in the Corps? Were you still a senior in high school when you learned that?
I probably, I learned it before I went there because I knew some guys who were ahead of me in high school that had gone to Tech, and that's probably another reason I went, because I had some pretty good friends that went to Tech, and I just kind of followed in their footsteps
And you, so was there an attraction to the military because you came from a military family, or you had uncles or anything like that?
I had an uncle that was in the army in World War II, but no, it's just I went there, found out I had to be in the Corps, had to get my hair cut.
Did that bother you?
It didn't bother me really, because my hair was pretty short anyway, and I learned that I had to wear the uniform all the time. I didn't know that, but that was good because that helped my wardrobe.
Yeah, it made it pretty simple, pretty straightforward.
He's pretty easy, yeah.
Did you enjoy putting the uniform on? Or
I didn't bother.
Yeah,
I didn't mind at all.
I guess once you get used to it, it's not a big deal, and you learn where everything goes, kind of thing.
Right. Yeah.
So when you came home as a junior and senior, did you have to wear a uniform when you came home?
No.
Okay. So when you left
See,
camp,
when I went to Tech, I couldn't come home. I'd go there in June, I think. September. Go there in September, and I couldn't come home until I had to stay the whole time up to Thanksgiving.
yeah, that makes sense.
Come home Thanksgiving, went back, then got a break at Christmas. And back then we were on a quarter system. We didn't win semesters. And so when we came home, the first quarter had ended. You go back into the first quarter is called fall quarter.
Okay. Yeah.
Then you got winter and spring quarter.
Gotcha.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what it was then.
And then I guess there was a summer quarter for kids who wanted to go to summer school.
That's true, yeah.
Or needed to go to summer school,
Exactly.
maybe.
Exactly.
What did you like about being in the Corps, and what did you not like about being in the Corps?
I guess what I liked about the Corps is structure. I like that. I just like that. I've been wearing a uniform all my life. Started the Cub Scouts, Boy Scouts, Cadet Corps, and of course almost 30 years in the Army.
You didn't know what to do with yourself when you got out of the Army.
I didn't know how to dress in the swing, brother. No, yeah.
We'll come back to your Army career for sure. So, what did you not like about the Corps? Was there anything?
I really I liked everything about it. I guess what I liked the least eventually was getting up early, falling out in the morning. And particularly those cold mornings.
Because it gets cold in Blacksburg.
Oh yeah,
in the winter for sure. Well, what time of day would y'all get up?
I can't remember that.
Because your dad had you up at 6.
My dad had me. Yeah, he had me out of bed at 6 o'clock.
Yeah, I'm guessing y'all were probably doing 5:30 maybe.
Probably doing 5:30, 6. 5:30, 6 o'clock, getting up. And first formation probably 7ish, I guess.
Yeah,
and
that makes sense.
Something like that.
It takes some getting used to, right?
Yeah, we used to have to march to breakfast. We didn't march. Then you march and you fall out and go in the dining hall and eat, and then you back to the barracks on your own, and then of course you go to class.
So,
and then we had an evening, the evening formation also.
But you were on your own after the evening formation to go study, I'm guessing.
For the most part, yeah.
Yeah. So
except for maybe the first year, yeah.
So your entire day just about was structured.
That's right.
For you.
And I kind of like that. Yeah.
You obviously like that.
Yeah.
All right. So you graduated. You were telling me in 1960. The 50s were, other than the Korean War at the beginning of the decade, the second half of the decade when you went to college was pretty calm for at least America, I'm guessing. I mean, my ideal, I was not alive, but my idea was it was pretty blissful.
Let's say, Korea in the 50s, then Vietnam came along. And when I went in the Army, my first assignment was to Fort Bliss, Texas. And I was there for about 3 years, I guess. And then to Europe. And after about, my Germany tour was cut short. I went to about 2.5 years. I mean, it was cut short about 6-8 months. And I came home. Joined a unit to go to Vietnam. And the unit was at Fort Knox, training and organizing and getting ready to go. And we got taken off those orders. And I went like all the rest of us, we all went as individual replacements to Vietnam.
I got you. That first unit at Fort Bliss, because I imagine you went to Fort Sill to learn how to learn your profession.
I initially went to the Air Defense Officers Basic Course.
Where was that?
That was at Fort Bliss, Texas.
Okay, I got you.
And I got out I graduated from that. And of course, back then that was Nike Ajax missile, Nike Hercules, and Hawk.
Okay, yeah.
Well, I joined a corporal, but they sent me to a corporal battalion, which is the field artillery missile. And I spent I spent a year and a half, 2 years in that battalion. And then I was assigned to the Honest John Battalion, actually that was a rocket. That was a field artillery rocket.
Okay.
And
was there a conversion? Did you have to go through specialty training to go from air defense
I went to corporal officers course, and I think I went to an Honest John. Maybe I went to the Honest John Warhead course, but I don't think I went to the Honest John course, no.
Okay.
But I did go to corporal missile course.
Did you want to be air defense or field artillery?
No, I'd rather have been field artillery.
Okay.
But back then, again, not knowing, I just put down artillery. I think it was probably. I think my first choice was I wanted to be close to home, quartermaster.
That would put you right there at Petersburg.
Fort Lee, and then I had to choose. I think 2 combat arms, and I think my next choice was, I believe it was armor, and then artillery.
So when I went through, I had a wish list of my top 10, and they didn't specify, I don't think, that I had to do combat support or combat service support and combat arms.
I think I had to have. I forget, but yeah, I had those combat arms had to be in there somewhere. I had to have combat arms.
That makes sense.
Maybe one or two of my first 3 choices or something. I don't know.
And your initial contract was it 4 years, 5 years? Do you remember?
I think as a reserve officer back then, it was like 8 years.
Okay.
And it's 2 years active, and then certain number of years. What do they have? Active reserve.
Yeah.
And then
IRR after that. I think.
Then after that, yeah, I was just there.
So when you graduated from Virginia Tech, you were active duty.
When I graduated from Virginia Tech, I went active duty. Yes.
And the thought was
I graduated in June, and I went on active duty in December of '60.
Okay. And the idea was you were going to do 2 years active duty and then go into active reserves?
I was going to do 2 years active duty, then go in reserves and go home and have to go to meetings, once.
Right.
Back then, I forget exactly what it was, whether it was once a month or just whatever.
But
you had to go to summer camp, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, annual training for 15 days or whatever
it was.
But anyway,
it was time to get out. My wife and I talked about it. We kind of like it. Well, let's see if we'll go to Europe. And anyway, I applied for my regular Army commission, and I made the decision that if I get accepted, because regular Army is more permanent and more security, I guess I want to say, than a reserve commission.
Right.
And so anyway, I said, if I get the regular Army commission, I will stay, and we will go wherever they're going to send. Not that then I didn't know where I might be going. But anyway, there were about, right then, I lived on post, and there was about 4 or 5 guys, all of us applied for a regular Army commission. And the first 2 or 3 came back disapproved. So I said, if mine comes back disapproved, I'm not staying. And but anyway, mine came back is approved, and we stayed, went to Europe.
Were all y'all married out of the 4 or 5 guys?
Yeah, we all lived in quarters, well married. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah. Do you know why you got it and they didn't?
I had no idea.
Huh.
I don't know.
But you were happy.
I was happy.
Because you appreciated the structure. You appreciated what the Army did. There's a lot of fond memories I'm sure you have, and maybe not so fond memories. And so when you decided to take your regular Army commission, effectively, or transition from the reserve component contract, it sounds like you were on, to that regular Army contract, it was 1962, 63, somewhere in there?
It was 62.
Okay. And Vietnam had not really become a thing yet.
Vietnam I knew it was going on, but not really, no.
We had some people over there advising.
We had some people over there, yeah.
Yeah. And my understanding of history, once again, I was not alive in the early and mid-'60s, but it started getting really, really serious in 65, I think.
65, 66. I was there 67, 68. It was going pretty good then. Then my second tour, when I went back 71, 72, early 70s anyway, 71, 72, lot different. Back with my first tour, you couldn't go anywhere without an armed escort. And then my first tour in Vietnam, I was down in 3 Corps area around Saigon, Benoit, that area. And my second tour was on the DMZ. And we would kind of draw, after I'd been there a while, we were drawing down and moving out. So actually, I was a battalion executive officer for 1758 Inch Battalion. And we began drawing down and moving. We just moved south, on DMZ. Then I came down to Wade, Da Nang, and rolled down at Da Nang. Put all our equipment on the ships and sent it back to the States. In Da Nang, I'm pretty sure it was.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
When you went over the first time in 67, you said you went over there as an individual replacement. You were leaving a field artillery unit to go be an individual replacement, and you ended up in a field artillery unit when you got over there?
That's exactly right. And in fact, I ended up I really liked that job probably better than any other I had my whole 30 years. I was a battery commander, commanding a 155 self-propelled battalion, had 6 howitzers, and we ran all over the 3 Corps area. At that time, supporting we supported a 6 infantry division.
Okay.
6 infantry division. Yeah, I think that's what it was, and that was a brigade that we supported there in Tay Ninh.
Okay. Yeah.
I think that's right. Tay Ninh.
Sounds right.
Yeah. But anyway, we were all the way from the Cambodian border, across Vietnam to
the South China Sea.
South China Sea.
Which we just looked up.
We just looked it up, yeah.
It's really cool to be a battery commander in general. It sounds like that was a good position for you. It was something that you appreciated, having the chance to do that in a combat zone.
Yeah, when I went over there, I was a forward observer on the ground. And then I became an aerial observer. And I did that for 2 or 3 months, I guess, 3 months. And then the battery came open, and I was lucky enough to get it. Yeah, you're right. Being a battery commander in the combat was a key position.
Well, it's a very important position.
Yeah, very important position.
How many of the members of that unit did you know before you took command? Did you know any of them?
None of them.
That's pretty wild, right?
None of them, right.
So I had mentioned to you earlier, and you already knew this, my dad went over there in 69, 70, and one of the things I've read and I've talked to my dad about a little bit is there was the spit and polish commissioned officer that I don't think kept that mindset going for very long, and then there was this sort of let's all get along kind of thing. We don't have to shine our boots every day. What was your approach to being in command? Because that's a really serious job, and you've got a culture you've got to create. But Vietnam was different, as I understand it. You had draftees over there that maybe weren't super happy about.
We had marijuana problems.
Yeah, and alcohol was something y'all could drink every day if you wanted to, other than if you were on mission.
Alcohol wasn't a big problem, but of course, yeah, we did have in the evenings we did have they brought beer out, helicopter beer.
It's like it was water.
Yeah, we had beer available. Yeah.
So what was your approach to being in command given those conditions, with marijuana being prevalent and a lot of guys not wanting to be there?
Well, trying to learn as you go. It was my first experience with that, and it's kind of as the situation developed, you kind of just learn to deal with it as it happened. You mentioned spit and polish. Actually, the boots we had, the combat boots we had, they came up on your leg. They were canvas.
The entire boot was canvas?
Well, no, the shoe part was leather.
So they're old jungle boots, I think.
Yeah, jungle
is what we
boots.
call
That's
them.
what we call them,
Yeah.
jungle boots.
Yeah. But you still had to polish the toes,
You
right?
still had to polish the bottoms of them, yeah.
Yeah, the heels and the toes, and maybe a little bit of the
Toes,
sides. Yeah.
Exactly. But didn't worry about that too much. Uniforms, of course, we had laundry. I think we had these Vietnamese women that worked for us doing laundry. And I think they did it in the rice paddies.
Probably.
And anyway, they kept their uniforms clean and starched, and it was. And I don't know. The uniforms all came back to us clean, wrapped in cellophane.
Not a bad deal.
Not a bad deal, no.
So in Third Corps, were you guys being called on for a lot of missions in Third Corps in 67, 68?
Yeah, I changed a lot. A lot of different places. Moved a lot. In fact, I kind of had my eyes on this battery. I don't know why, but in the battalion where I was an FO in, of course, we had three batteries, 3 firing batteries, and one stayed in the base camp all the time. Just fired right out of the base camp. My first 2 or 3 months I was there. Then I took command of the battery, and on the second day we rolled out of the base camp, never to return. We were just moving all the time.
Wow.
Yeah.
I don't know if I want to ask this next question, but I mean, you talked about being on the border with Cambodia. Mm-hmm. Was there any activity going on back then? I think the statute of limitations or whatever it is on that stuff. Were we doing stuff just in Vietnam, or were we doing?
We were just in Vietnam.
Just in Vietnam. There may have been some others.
Actually, as you get closer to the border, the jungle and mountainous terrain, and
it's not impassable, but it's tough stuff.
It's tough stuff. So we didn't do a lot over there, but it's kind of you come down out of the mountains and then it's leveled off to the South China Sea. Yeah.
And if you're battery commander of self-propelled 155s, you can't go everywhere with those things.
Well, funny you asked that question. They put us in one of our missions. We were loaded on LCU boats, I think they called them.
Okay.
I think we put 2 howitzers on a boat. And we went down into the Delta, and we offloaded on a boat, and then everything was marshy down there, So anyway, we finally found enough positions for 6 howitzers, but I had this colonel wanted to come to see us. Well, we get visited by colonels and generals all the time.
Because they just wanted to see self-propelled 155s?
Yeah. So anyway... had this colonel come in. He was our my group commander, and he said, "Self-propelled howitzers down here in the Delta. Who made that decision?" I said, "I don't know who made that decision." I said, "But I just followed my orders and came on down here. We're here." And it wasn't long. We were replaced by a towed battery, towed battalion, and we went back up into the mainland where it was not so marshy.
What are your strongest memories from that first tour when you were over there? What were your strongest memories? The ones you remember to this day and will never forget, kind of thing. Do you have any of those?
Tough question. I guess just being. I liked it because I was kind of close to the soldiers. I was doing, that's what I was in the Army for, to
lead men,
that, and to be in that combat situation.
Right.
And that and my second tour were really the only times that I did that. It was always something else, that like in training command, Pentagon, military personnel center, that kind of stuff. In my early years, I never thought about that. I just thought.
Well, I mean, you're either in a combat zone you're preparing, you're training to be in combat, or you're supporting those that are preparing or actually in the combat zone. I mean, all of your jobs fell into one of those three.
Exactly. Yeah.
But at the end of the day, it's like what I tell people is, if you practiced a sport, football, basketball, baseball, and you never got to play the game, it just doesn't seem right.
Right.
And not that you or I or anybody else that's been to a combat zone wants to go to one.
That's exactly right. You don't. But no, you certainly you didn't want to have to do that. But once you were doing it, you realize, hey, this is what I'm in. That's why I'm here.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's why I'm here. Yeah.
Yeah, and you stayed in for 30 years, and you had done a tour in 67, 68. Could you have gotten out before your second tour if you wanted to?
There was a period when they wouldn't let me out because of the at war, and I think it was like that ended when I had like 12, 14 years in. So I said, what the heck? Now I'll go to 20.
Yeah.
And so anyway, I went to 20, and then I started getting selected for promotions. Going to Command General Staff College, going to the War College, got selected for Colonel. I thought, well, I might as well go ahead and stay for 30 now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Well, and the retirement is actually better at 30 than it is at 20, right? Yeah.
Back then, it was. If you retired at 20, your retirement was 50% of your base pay.
Right.
And then when you got 30, it was 75% of your base pay. Yeah.
It's still like that, I'm pretty sure.
I don't know.
Yeah.
And I think it's changed some.
There's something in the middle at 25, I think.
I think it's changed some, but it's not exactly like that. I don't think.
Oh, where were you between your two tours in Vietnam? Where were you stateside, or were you in Germany, or? Okay,
I had that combat tour in Vietnam. I was in Korea also, but not in war. I get those two countries mixed up. But after Vietnam, I came home, and believe it or not, I was got promoted to major in Vietnam. I was it wasn't official, but it was our command position lasted 6 months.
Okay.
Then you had to go. They thought that was enough for you to go do something else.
Is that a regular Army thing, or is that a combat thing?
No, that was just. I think it was a combat thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So anyway, 6 months I forward observer for a couple months, 6 months battery commander, and then make it a year, 3 or 4 more months. I was a artillery advisor for Special Forces.
Oh, okay.
So it was with the Special Forces group, and Special Forces they have these camps throughout the area, and all of our camps were I was in the 3 Corps area, and those were, I went into the terrain we talked about earlier.
Yeah.
And with the helicopter, and sometimes I'd have to stay in those camps. My job was to artillery support for the camps, and then the operations outlet where they operated out of the camp. Now, I think they had the teams at the camps were like 12, 13 men.
They're typically 12. Yeah,
12 men, I think it was.
Yeah.
And of course, the soldiers, they enlisted for the most part. The team, I think they had 2 officers and the rest enlisted personnel. But the soldiers and the battalion members, they were Cambodians.
Mm. Oh, wow.
Yeah, and
that's different.
that was interesting. Yes.
Yeah. Did they speak English, or did the SF guys, our American SF guys, spoke their language?
The SF guys, they were able to communicate with them. Yes.
Wow.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't know the language in Cambodia. Is it
Now,
Cambodian?
I'm sure that some of them probably did speak English. Some of the officers might have spoken English, but I kind of doubt it. But because in the camps, had the soldiers, and they had the families with them. Their wives and children were right in those camps with them.
Wow.
And they'd have to go, when they go out on operations, they, of course, they'd let them leave their families there, and they'd go.
Could you imagine if you had your family with you over there?
No,
I can't. Doesn't make any sense to me.
No, that would never work.
Would never, ever work. No. You'd never want to leave base camp.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I wouldn't. I mean, obviously, I'd leave it because we have a mission, but it's still a hard thing to wrap your head around. Mm. Wow. So I'm glad you shared that, because I figured you had ended your tour in command, but it sounds like you had 3 or 4 months where you're hanging out with these.
About 4 months I was with with that Special Forces group.
And were you the only field artillery person with them? Mm-hmm. Okay, so you were there as an expert.
I was Mr. Field Artillery, yeah.
So you were everything field artillery to them. Mm-hmm. And so that was expertise, but it was also the ability to call in air support, right? Or field artillery support.
We had Navy. We had all that available: Navy, Air Force, and.
Were you the one coordinating all that?
There were situations where I had to play the role and coordinate it. Yes.
That's a lot.
That's a lot.
I mean, it's almost too much, I would imagine.
It's just you stayed pretty busy. Yes.
Yeah. Wow. So you were calling in Navy support too at times.
We would call in some Navy also. Yes.
Yeah, and that's not
it was I didn't. It was the least used by me.
But still,
yeah.
You had to know how to do it.
Most of mine was field artillery, U.S. units.
Yeah.
We toward the end of my tour, and I never knew really what happened, but we began a program training Cambodians to fire the 105 howitzer. And
so that y'all were teaching them everything it takes to fire a 105. And I kind of leaves me now, because I couldn't do all that by myself. So I had a team, come in and teach fire direction and right.
And a fire adjustment and that kind of stuff.
What was considered danger close back then?
Danger close.
That may not have been a term y'all used. That's a term we use.
I guess if you had to call it in on top of you, that's danger close.
There it is.
There it is. Yeah.
It wasn't like 100 meters away from wherever.
No, I never had any rules like that I knew of.
So you could call it in.
If the situation got blown, I never had to do that. But yeah.
That's pretty wild to think about.
Yeah.
Wow. So you had quite the first tour, going from FO to you. I can't remember the second thing you said.
I went from forward observer to battery commander
to this SF thing.
To the artillery. I was the artillery advisor for the Special Forces group. Yeah.
Do you remember which group it was?
Do you know some of the groups? Do you know
I used to know them really well, but I don't know them as well anymore.
5th Special Forces.
Okay.
5th Special Forces group, I think it was. Yeah.
That sounds right.
Yeah.
All right. So when
I got to wear the patch. I was attached to the I wore the patch.
That's pretty cool.
It's one of my combat patches I could wear.
I mean, I'd wear that all the time, right?
I got something similar to what you got here on the wall.
But having an SF patch is pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you get along with those guys?
Oh yeah.
I imagine they were all really good dudes.
Okay. I didn't spend a lot of time with them because my primary focus was out with the camps.
Right.
I think we had like 10, 11 camps. Something like that.
So 10 or 11 teams out there. Wow.
Well, no.
Not all of them had teams.
No. He just said he did. But we had to plan, and if the situation required, we had to coordinate the artillery support. Yeah.
Yeah. That's a lot. That's a lot of camps. All right, so you're leaving Vietnam. You're like, I'm never coming back here again. There's no way I end up back here again.
Exactly.
Before we talk about your second tour, though, what were your assignments in between the two tours?
Okay, we started talking about that. I came out of Vietnam and went back to Fort Sill to learn to be a battery commander. So,
Well, what?
I went to school, and that was my first field artillery training.
Are you kidding?
No.
You got to be a battery commander before you took any formal field artillery
Exactly.
training.
And that doesn't happen.
It never happens.
Quite fortunate to do that. And
Wild. So you were learning on the job.
I did OJT.
Man.
So I did that. Let's see. I finished the school. That was the advanced course.
Yeah.
The field artillery advanced course. That's where I was my first field artillery training.
Wow.
And I already been a battery commander.
Wow.
And then I got an assignment in Dallas, Texas, on a personnel management team.
Okay. Rarely do Army officers or enlisted or warrants get to go to a place like Dallas. Usually you get to go to some Army post in the middle of nowhere.
No, you don't. But I'm trying to think, is that right? That doesn't seem right. I told you I get these dates all mixed up.
No, you're good.
I believe I went to Dallas after I got out of after I graduated from Leavenworth. But after I came back, I went to SEAL to the advanced course.
You were a major at this point.
A major at this point. I guess I forget. I don't know.
You were a staff officer somewhere, I imagine. Yeah. So when you say Leavenworth, you went to Dallas after Leavenworth. That was after CGSC?
Yeah, after I got out of I came back from Vietnam. For the next 11 years, all of my assignments were 1 year. Because of Vietnam, Vietnam kind of drove the system with the 1 year tour.
Right.
But then I would, in the schools were normally a year long. So, but it just seemed like I would, everywhere I moved, every year, into some 1 year job.
Wow.
And
yeah, because in peacetime it's 2, 3, 4 years.
3 years.
Yeah,
3 years. But I went for 11 years. We just going 1 year assignments. Couldn't keep a job.
So what? Was your wife okay with all that?
She got accustomed to it. Yeah, she was okay with it. Yeah, I think so. Yeah.
I mean, obviously, she didn't mind traveling.
If I had more time, I could probably figure it out, get it all straight. But it's all cloudy now.
What were the chances in your mind of you going back to Vietnam for a second tour in 1968, 69, around that time frame? Did you think there was no chance, or you thought there was a pretty good chance you'd go back?
71, 72. In fact, let's see. I graduated from Leavenworth, and the personnel people from the Military Personnel Center came out to Leavenworth to talk to us about our assignments. And I happened to know my assignment officer when he came out there. And I walked in and he said, "Dip, what in the hell are you doing? What in the hell are you doing in here? You know you've been back 3 years. You're going back to Vietnam." So anyway, that's yeah. And I kind of had an idea I would be going back. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, what? And obviously, you were in uniform.
Actually, I asked him. He asked me, and I said, "Oh, I came in to find my assignment. Find out my assignment." He said, "You've been back, whatever it was, 38 months. You're going back to Vietnam. Get out of here," he said.
Yeah. Wow. So when you were stateside during that time, even before you went overseas, and then obviously doing 2 tours. What was it like being in America at the time, being around civilians? Was it nobody cared? Nobody?
I didn't. You hear stories about how it was not good to be associated with the military then because of the dislike for the war.
Yeah.
But I didn't pick up on it a lot. I didn't have much problem with that. I didn't.
That's good. I'm glad that was your experience.
Yeah.
All right, second tour. Are you an 04 still? Going back in 71?
Let's see. I went back in 71, 72. I said, yeah, that's right.
Yep.
71, 72. I went back as a major. Yeah, I stayed a major. I thought I was going to die a major. I stayed a major a long time.
A lot of majors can say that.
yeah. I was a major. Yeah. And I went
Did you go with a unit this time, or did you go as an individual again?
as an individual.
Yeah.
Again, individual replacement. Yeah.
And what was your first job over there?
Then I was, it was a terrible job. I didn't like it. I was assigned to Dong Ha up on the DMZ. I mean, that didn't bother me, but I was a Group S2, intelligence.
Had you been trained to be an intel guy?
Well, I guess you would say yes, I had been, but I didn't do that very long, because a battalion executive officer position came open.
Okay.
And I guess maybe I did that job 6 weeks, 8 weeks, 2 months at the most. And then I became a battalion exec for 175 8-inch battalion.
Okay.
I was on my whole artillery experience. It's been self-propelled. Never was in a towed unit. But anyway, I became the exec, and I was responsible for, and I was we were supporting the 101st. They were, at that time, air mobile.
Okay.
Air mobile. But, it's 175 8-inch, wasn't air mobility. Wasn't much air mobility in those weapons.
That doesn't sound highly mobile, at least not air mobile.
But anyway, well, we'd do wherever they'd go. They would go in by helicopter, and they would carry their 105. They had that M102 howitzer, the real light howitzer.
Yep.
And they take it in, and then of course we'd accompany them on the ground.
Right.
I was responsible for logistics maintenance as a battalion exec. That's what I did, and I kept the troops fed and clothed and supplied them bullets.
Yeah, the commander gets to do the command stuff, and you get to do all the stuff the commander doesn't want to do.
He was more into the operation part of it, but I was primarily logistics, maintenance, readiness.
And was that a 6-month duty position, or did you do that the rest of the time?
Then, like I said earlier, we started standing down. Battalion stood down. We deactivated. And of course, we had to clean up all of our equipment. That took a while, and ship it out.
And when you say clean your equipment, like I was trained by Vietnam era guys when I came in, and we would clean our M16s. It seemed like forever. Was that the approach you guys had to your equipment?
We were cleaning howitzers, getting those steam cleaning them off, and we didn't. I don't recall doing much other than just that. We didn't worry about painting them, having them all shiny and everything.
Right.
But it's just so that and they had to be accepted before they'd go back to the States.
Because they were going back to the States. Y'all were taking everything you took over.
The second time I was over there, we are talking about the second time. Yeah, we married up with a VC battalion, 175 8-inch battalion, and and I had the Vietnamese battalion executive officer. He and I stayed together for several weeks.
So you had a South Vietnamese counterpart with you the whole time.
Counterpart, and we stayed together for couple 3 months, I guess, at least. And
did he speak English?
We were able to communicate. He spoke some English, yeah.
Okay, good.
And so let's see.
Was he there to learn from you?
Yeah.
And
I know what it was. They had their battalion married up. They had all brand spanking new equipment. And our equipment was, we always kid it was being held together with bubble gum and baling wire,
Right.
And but they had all new equipment, and I think they got overrun. And that equipment was. I think I went back to Vietnam on a tour as a tourist.
Yeah.
And I went to Hanoi. And I think one of my howitzers was parked up in Hanoi. They had it for, like a monument.
Yeah, monument to say that they ended up taking over the whole country. Yeah, that's wild. So when you were with the South Vietnamese counterpart and those, did the units function together, or were they still?
Oh no,
they were separately functioning.
They had the. Probably, as I recall, they had the primary mission.
Oh.
But we still had some missions, fire missions.
Right.
But we were kind of also involved in getting the equipment ready to get out of there. Yeah.
Which is the way to do it, right? You bring, because that's a lot of money for all that equipment, and taxpayers paid for it.
Now they. I forget about Afghanistan or where
it was Afghanistan.
We left a lot of equipment.
We left it basically all there.
Yeah. We just left it.
Well, and the strange thing for me is I had guys from my battalion go over to get all the equipment from Iraq. And that was in 2011, 2012, 2013. Well, if we're doing that in Iraq, why can't we pull that off in Afghanistan less than a decade later? Just didn't make much sense to me. But it is what it is. It is.
But anyway, when I mentioned leaving that equipment, I thought about it. Well, we had to clean all that up and we had to ship it out of there. We couldn't leave it.
And we shouldn't leave it.
No. But of course, we did leave a battalion. We gave a battalion a battalion's worth of equment.
Yeah.
That was just part of the program.
Right. No, that makes sense. I'm sure there was a good set of reasons for that.
I mean, that was intended that be left for them.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. So by the time you left your second tour in Vietnam, you had been in about 12, 13 years or so?
That's 71, 72. I went in 60, 12 years.
Yeah, 12 years. Yeah. And you're like, I'm more than halfway to 20, so I might as well do that.
Might as well.
How much field artillery assignments did you have after your second tour of Vietnam, or was it more just needs of the Army kind of thing?
It was. I had one more assignment.
Wow.
And that was a command of a 8-inch battalion.
Okay. Where was that?
Fort Riley, Kansas.
Yeah. I've never been to Fort Riley. Would I enjoy myself at Fort Riley, Kansas?
Well, if you liked flat, level country, if you like snow and ice and cold, yeah, you would enjoy it. Yeah, you would enjoy it.
Not a whole lot going on out there. Did you ever get a chance to go to Schofield Barracks on Oahu in Hawaii?
I never was assigned there.
So I got a chance to go out there for a couple of weeks for a training exercise.
I mean, I've seen it and I've been passed through it, but that's about it.
The Army found the worst part of Hawaii, and they put an Army post on it. I swear they do it everywhere they go.
Yeah. But Fort Riley, it was cold, wind blowing. It was
that whole part of the country.
Yeah.
Yeah, Kansas, Missouri, Iowa, all the Nebraska, all that in there. What was your favorite place to go? The location that you enjoyed the most, and not the assignment, not what you did, but the best place you went.
Well, that's a hard question too. Probably Dallas, Texas.
Okay.
In Dallas, I became a Cowboy fan. I got to go to, and I'm still a Cowboy fan.
We may have to end this interview.
And we got to go. I went to several football games on it, but I was there only a year, so one season.
And this is in the 70s. You were assigned in Dallas. Yeah, they were good back then.
Yeah, the team was good, really good.
They're not so good these days.
Yeah, I was, going to Super Bowl. Yeah.
I think they went to 5 in like an 8-year period or something crazy. Yeah, and then they did the 3 in the early 90s as well. Wow, so that's when you became a Cowboys fan.
Exactly.
Growing up in Richmond, you weren't a Redskins fan?
No, I wasn't into.
You weren't into football?
Wasn't into football, no.
Okay, that makes sense. So you came by Cowboys fandom, honestly, sounds like.
The what?
You came by it honestly because a lot of Cowboys fans from this area, they love America's team and Roger Staubach and all that. But they also were saying, well, I don't like Redskins fans, so I'm going to like the team that is their big rival.
Actually, I went to, I guess it really developed my only assignment to the Military Personnel Center. They were all Redskin fans. And it was so much more fun to be a Cowboy fan and to get into these
absolutely
arguments with them about that. So I said, I'm going to be a Cowboy fan. I just harass Redskin fans.
That's the best part of being an NFL football fan.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Yeah. All right, so you ended up, and it sounds like you had some choice here how you ended your time in the Army. You ended up back where you grew up. How did you end up back here?
Let's see. I got to think about this, Paul. I went to the Military Personnel Center to check on to see what they had planned in store for me. And this all might not be in the same order, but we were looking at a list of assignments. And my wife said, I didn't see it. She said, there's one in Richmond, right there. Richmond.
Because she grew up here too, right?
She grew up here too.
Yeah.
That was one in Virginia, maybe it was,
Yeah.
And so anyway, that's how, part of how I got back here. She's like that, and they were looking for an assignment for me. I said, yeah, I'll take it.
Did you think that was going to be your last assignment when you took it?
No. I don't think so, because that was I did that. I can't really remember.
Did you know anything about the Army National Guard when you took that assignment?
I did not know anything about the Guard, no, or the reserves. I had an assignment in the military. I had about 7 years in Virginia. And I'm trying to think. I had the assignment at Alexandria, Military Personnel Center in Alexandria.
Okay.
Then I had ROTC assignment at James Madison University.
Oh, okay, yeah.
That was 3 or 4 years.
Were you the professor of military science there?
I was head of the military science department,
Yeah,
yes.
okay.
And then my assignment as the senior Army advisor for the Virginia National Guard. Yeah.
Yeah, and that had to be some culture shock going into the Army National Guard because it was different.
But
back then.
that all kind of being at JMU and being with the Guard, and you're associated with civilian people.
Right.
It kind of eased me back into the civilian world.
Yeah, it makes sense.
Yeah.
So when you were the advisor, did you spend most of your time with the adjutant general? Or were you out and about talking to units, or a mix of the two?
Mix of the two.
Okay.
I spent a lot of time out, and I spent a lot of, at that time it was General Castles.
Yeah, yes.
You remember General Castles?
I do remember. I was a little kid, but I remember.
Yeah.
Well, he was a Korean War vet, I think, wasn't he?
Yeah.
Yeah.
He had a wooden leg.
Yes, he did.
You know that? Peg leg, they call it. Yeah.
Well, I think, and it was a train accident. It wasn't from his service. It was from a train accident.
It was a train accident, automobile accident. I guess automobile.
Yeah.
But anyway, train accident. I don't know the details.
I don't know the details either. Did you get along with General Castles?
Oh yeah. He and I were good buddies.
Yeah. I heard nothing but good things about him. My dad really liked General Castles.
Yeah, I like General Castles. A lot of people didn't, because he was he was a strict guy.
He was the way he needed to be.
He was a very strict guy, yeah.
When you're lackadaisical, good things don't happen, right?
But I liked him. Yeah.
Well, cool. Well, hey, I said an hour. We're a little over an hour. Can we end with you talking about your family a little bit?
Yeah, we can do that.
All right, cool. Mm-hmm. So you're married. Did you ever have kids?
Like I said, I got married right out of Tech. Graduated in June, got married 23rd of July. And I started dating, her name was Judy, started dating her, and she was in high school. It was after my freshman year at Tech. I came home and my buddy, he was a junior. He was a junior when I was senior in high school, and he was graduating when I came back after a year at Tech, and we were at the house, and he said he was going to his baccalaureate service that night or the next night or something,
Right.
And he said, "Come on, go. I would like for you to go along." I said, "Oh no, I don't want to go. I don't have anybody to take with anything with it like that." He said, "I tell you, just call Judy. She'll go with anybody." So I said, "Okay." So I gave her a call, and I don't think she was home. I think she had to call me back or something. She thought I was calling. She was dating another guy at the time that was at Tech with me. She thought I was calling about him or something to give him a message. And I asked her to go, and she went with me.
And then you ended up getting married.
And we ended up getting married. Had four boys.
Wow.
I had the oldest, and then about 2 years later we had a second one. 3 years later we had a third one. And then 10 years later,
oh goodness,
we had the youngest one. And the youngest one right now he's married. He's got 2 sets of twins.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So in fact, I was with the boys. They'll turn 16. No, they just turned 16. And I was just with them this weekend. They run track in high school.
Doing some winter track, which is
indoor track, yeah. Indoor.
Do they have an indoor facility at their school?
Yeah.
They're lucky to have that because a lot of schools don't have that.
Yeah, they got indoor track.
Yeah, that's cool.
But this track meet was down in Hampton, at the Boo Williams Sportsplex.
Okay.
Never heard of it, but anyway.
I haven't heard of it either till now.
But one of them is really, they both run pretty good runners, but one is a little bit better than the other, and he finished, and then they ran a mile. They both ran a mile, I think.
Yeah, miles, I think, a winter distance.
And they both ran a mile, and one of them finished. It was a regional meet, and he's fifth in his region.
Nice.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Mm-hmm.
That's really good.
Yeah.
So 4 boys. How old's the oldest now?
He was born in 61, so
okay. Whatever that math is.
It's somewhere around, let's see, 61.
63 maybe?
Somewhere like that. Yeah. He's the early 60s, yeah.
All right, cool.
And then the next one is in his early 60s. The other one is 59, 60, somewhere around that group. And then the other one is, he would be 56 or 7,
okay.
Something like that.
All right.
And then the youngest one, I can keep him straight. He's 40 years younger than I am. So
were y'all born the same day?
Huh? No. I just remember 40. He was. I'm 80. I'm 80. I'll be 87. He will be 47.
Okay. All right. There it is. So y'all turn your birthdays when they hit. Y'all are 40 years apart.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah. Nice. And you had mentioned before we started recording, you lost your first wife.
And she was, she was killed in the automobile accident. And then, I guess it's about 4 years later, I married my current wife.
Yeah. And y'all been married for?
We've been married got married in 2013.
Okay.
14. Yeah, right. 13. So that's what? 13, 25, 12 years.
It'll be 12 years here
13,
soon.
13 years. Yeah.
Well, that's awesome. Well, Dip, I'm glad we got together. Apparently, we were supposed to get together a few years ago, but it didn't work out. And I'm glad to know you. I appreciate your service. My dad was very happy to reconnect us to get us to do this. So I'm glad we were able to do it.
Yeah, and I enjoyed your dad. He enjoyed working with him. Particularly, I remember him primarily as the engineer group commander.
He loved that job.
Yeah.
I think he liked being an engineer, but he really liked that particular job for sure. Yeah. Well, thanks for doing this. I appreciate it, Dip.
You're certainly welcome. I enjoyed it.
Thank you for listening. If you enjoyed this episode, please subscribe to wherever you listen to podcasts. We'd also really appreciate if you'd rate and review us. You can find us at scodupodcast.com.